mentality has left a mark. Shout out to the NBA legend, Kobe, and your daughter, Gigi. From Tom Brady to Drew Bledsoe, rain, sleet, or snow, I grind. I am the difference maker. I am the game changer.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Game Changers live on the Right Way Sports Network YouTube channel. As you can tell, Malik Wright, the normal host of the show, is not here, but I'll be filling in. I'm Daniel Alameda, operations manager at TWSN. I'm here with my guy, Cody. How are we doing, man?
Daniel, I am doing great. We had some really just terrible basketball that we got to watch last night. So I need some more sports news because last night was not it, man. Did you watch those games?
I disagree. I'm a Celtics fan.
So I could see how you would think that
I'm a Celtics fan, and I want to get into it. But before we get into the NBA, right? Because I mean, big time game tonight. We got the Warriors versus the Lakers. We got a ton of games this upcoming week. But before we get into it, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, right? Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got a mobile app here at TWSN. Download our mobile app. Check it out, guys. We got a lot of good stuff going on here at the Right Way Sports Network. We got a website. We got an Instagram at TWSN. And make sure you guys follow me and Cody as well on Twitter and Instagram. But Cody, the Wizards versus the Celtics. I mean, just give me your thoughts real quick on the games last night. You said you didn't really like it, but just give me your thoughts.
Man, I've seen better shooting at the YMCA. The Wizards were terrible to watch. Now, do I think they can come back and play some good basketball against the Pacers? I do. They're going to need it the way the Pacers played against the Hornets, but the Hornets didn't really want to be there. But we'll get to that game next. The Celtics Wizards game was, don't get me wrong, right? The Celtics played some good basketball, but they did it on the back of Jason Tatum, and he is going to have to continue to perform if the Celtics are going to make any sort of run, especially against the Nets, right? So I think he scored like 40 plus 4 times in the last like 32 or 36 days, something like that. I mean, he's hot. He's hot, and they need him. This is what Celtics fans have expected from Jason Tatum, right? To take the leap, to take the next step and become a real scoring anytime he gets the ball kind of threat. And man, he was on last night. He was on.
Yeah, and as a Celtics fan, right, this is what I came to expect, right? This is what you've been waiting for, to see the star really blossom. But at the same time, listen, I understand it's the play-in tournament. It's against the Wizards. Like, I'm not going to get too hyped on it. And I just really want to talk about Russell Westbrook for a second, right? Russell Westbrook, they made the big trade to go get him. This says a lot about Russell Westbrook. This is what you get with Russell Westbrook in the playoffs. We had some of our guys here at TWSN. They're big-time Wizards fans. But, hey, this has been Russell Westbrook his entire career. I love him in the regular season. I love the energy he brings. I love the passion he brings. But come playoff time, his play style doesn't work. I'm sorry. It doesn't. As for a Celtics team that's been in a slump all year long, a team that was 3-7 in their last 10 games, they shouldn't have won this game. Even though Jason Tatum put up 50 points, Kemba Walker played out of his mind as well. There were times where this team, I was like, we're losing this game. So I was a little shocked to see Russell Westbrook not step up. But once again, that's who he is. That's who you're going to get with Russell Westbrook. So, Cody, just to keep it on the Celtics, do they have a chance to get the Nets? Let me know.
Look, they're going to need Jason Tatum to score 35 plus if they're going to think about winning games against the Nets. I'm not a believer in the Nets team I don't think they'll come out of the East. I really do not. That being said, I don't believe enough in the Celtics. I don't think there's enough around Jason Tatum. Walker's going to have to step up. He's going to have to play some good basketball, because if they are going to rely on one guy, that's not going to be able to get it done against Kyrie, against Harden, and against Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and something very interesting today. Always looking to see, okay, is there some recent news? Kevin Durant today said something extremely interesting, right? He came out and he said, we can be beat if we aren't all locked in at the same exact time. So Kevin Durant's admitting, like, and I mean, this has been the thing all year long. If all three of them, let's say one of them gets injured, if they're not all on the same page, this team can be beat, right? And that's why I'm not going to say the Celtics are going to win this series, but I'm confident as hell that this team's going to win 2 games in the series, right? I think that with 3 terrific on-ball and off-ball defenders, you got Tristan Thompson, Marcus Smart, and Robert Williams, all 3 of them great defenders. I think that they can minimize the effect of those 3 scores to some degree, right? The Brooklyn Nets have the best offense in the league, but also they have a bottom 10 defense in the league, right? So if Jason Tatum, once again, he's got to go out there. He's got to score 40 a night. He's got to get in that Mamba mode, Mamba mentality. And I hope he can do it. I hope he can do it. So I think I'm going to roll with them winning 2 games in the series, but still the Nets, I think, are obviously going to take the series.
I think that's actually very, very plausible. I mean, now, I don't think the Celtics are going to win the series. I agree.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of moments this year where the Nets just, you wanted them to take that leap to show the superstar talent. They never did. And I don't know the statistic off the top of my head. I wonder how many games those, like the Nets big 3 have played together, right? Because chemistry matters, especially in the playoffs. In the playoffs is when teams show up, right? Russell Westbrook didn't last night. But teams show up. Like, you get every guy's best. There is no rest in the playoffs, right? I'm interested to see if the Nets can really pull it together, because if you're going to win a championship, that's what you have to do as a team. It doesn't matter the talent, right? If you watch the bubble last year, you watch teams pull it together. The Miami Heat pulled together their talent, right? They at no point in the series against the Bucks were they the more talented team. But they play better basketball, and that's what you need to do to win in the postseason. So we'll see. The Celtics need something, man. They need something. I'm rooting for you. But
they need something. But like you said, I'm really curious to see how this team works out together, the Brooklyn Nets, right? I mean, because before the season started, I was on the train like, hey, this team's going to be the greatest team we've ever seen. 3 top 10 players in the league, all 3 of the arguably best offense scores we've ever seen in the league. I'm curious, right? Because if they're all clicking on all cylinders, this team should roll through the Celtics. They should roll through the rest of the playoffs. But let's talk about the Western Conference, right? I want to talk about the Warriors versus the Lakers. I want to hear what you have to say, because I want chaos, right? I have no dog in a fight in the Western Conference. I mean, I went to ASU, but I have no dog. So I want to see tonight, I want to see Steph Curry go out there and drop 40. I want to see the Lakers lose. I want to see that happen. Cody, give me your prediction and also what you want to see happen.
There are guys who just bring energy when it matters, right? LeBron is absolutely one of those guys. Steph is absolutely one of those guys. The matchup tonight is going to be one of the when people make the argument, because people are going to make the argument next year, oh, we should maybe consider continuing the play-in game. It's going to be because of tonight's game. The Lakers are good, but they've shown that they can be beat, right? I mean, they're down here in the 7th seed. They're still the favorite to come out of the West, which is mind-blowing to me. I understand, like, any team with LeBron James should be favored in a series, but to be favored to come out of the West so handily,
yeah,
we'll see. I think the Warriors win. I think my gambling brain is not saying take the Warriors money line, but at +6, I really like the Warriors in that spot. That's a lot of points to be given up. Steph Curry is the best player in basketball.
Yes, now, completely.
And Malik's going to come at me, and I know he's watching, and he's going to come at me. But right now, Steph Curry is playing better basketball than anybody in the NBA. We'll see if LeBron comes out and really feels like himself. He showed it the last couple of games that, you know, he's getting back into that rhythm, but we'll see. We'll see, because Steph is a human torch. And if it's like shooting a basketball in the ocean when he gets hot. So what's that? Malik popping up with the K. I get it, Malik. I get it. But it'll be a great game. It'll be a really, really great game. And I'm excited for it.
It's going to be a phenomenal game. And I think, like you said, I know that they have LeBron James, but Cody, why are they favored? Why? Like, listen, this is going to be the hardest road, I believe, that they've ever taken that LeBron James has ever taken to a championship, right? I mean, if you actually realize he's got to go through Steph, and then he's got to go through the Suns, who all year long were one of the best teams in the league, and then you got to probably go through the Clippers, and then I see way too many roadblocks for this team. But I mean, it's LeBron James, it's the fan favorite, so I understand, but I want to see a battle tonight. That's all I really care. I want to see a battle. Cody, let's talk about another series. The Trailblazers versus the Nuggets real quick. I want to see the number 3 versus the number 6. I have a hot take in the series, but I want to see, who do you got winning that series? What do you think?
Look, Nikola Jokic is far and above the MVP this season, right? Hasn't missed a game. The dude's been unbelievable. He is one of the best offensive playmakers in basketball, right? He can do it all. He facilitates. He creates his own shot. He is incredibly fun to watch, especially to watch a big man do it. I like the Nuggets in the series. I think that the Nuggets have the talent around them. I think it's going to come down to how much is Michael Porter Jr. going to step into a look. I was a lottery pick for a reason. Like, I was supposed to be the number 1 pick, and he wouldn't have been if it was for his back. How good are you? Right? This is Michael Porter Jr.'s time to step up and say, hey, can he be that guy? Right? What are your thoughts? Because I know you always come with the spicy takes. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I like the Nuggets. I do. Jokic is the MVP of the league. Michael Porter Jr., some crazy stat. I think he's the only player besides Wilt Chamberlain, I believe, to have over 19 points per game and shooting 65% effective field goal percentage, right? I saw that stat, and I'm like, Michael Porter Jr., I know he's been playing great all year long. But no Jamal Murray, right? I mean, we saw 2 games ago the Trailblazers beat the Nuggets to escape the play-in tournament. And I'm going with the Trailblazers, right? Because for me, I've said this the past 2 years, Dame Lillard and this team has to make a run at some point, right? They've been stagnant his entire career. They haven't made a Western Conference Finals, I believe. They've been stagnant. So I think that this is the year with this Nuggets team. I know Jokic has been great. There are 3 keys for me, right? I think the Blazers, they rank in the bottom third of the league in total ball movement, right? They play complete iso ball. They have to move the ball against this Nuggets team. So if they're able to move the ball, if they're able to win the 3-point battle, right? Because the Blazers ranked number 3 in the league in total 3-point shots attempted a game. They've got to win the 3-point battle. And also, you've got to take advantage of the lack of the depth on the Nuggets, right? They rely on their front or their starting 5 heavily. When Jokic is out of the game, he probably will be playing 40 minutes, though. But those 8 minutes that he's not in the game, you have to take advantage. And I think Dame does it, right? You got Dame time, you got CJ McCollum, and Yusuf Nurkic has came back from his injury, and he's really helped revamp this defense. So I think the Blazers will win in 7. I do. I'm taking the Blazers in 7. And Cody, I just don't see this Nuggets team. If you're able to slow down Michael Porter Jr. a little bit and Jokic, just maintain them, right? Make it a battle between Nurkic and Jokic. If you can make it somewhat competitive between those two, it comes down to the fourth quarters. Dame and CJ McCollum, the best scoring duo besides obviously Harden and Kyrie. I like the Blazers, Cody.
I don't hate your logic. I don't hate your logic. I think you're wrong. I don't think the Blazers have enough to do it, but I don't hate your logic.
Yeah.
I love me some Dame time, man. He's electric. He's another guy that when it matters, Dame brings the juice.
Yeah. And once again, I'm being realistic. I mean, both me and you, I think we're both football guys, but basketball, this is the time where it gets fun, right? It's the playoffs, right? NFL, I think we both can speak for ourselves. I watch every single game, and I love every single game. I don't give a damn about the 30-second game in the NBA season. I don't. So right now, this is when you realize who's there for real, and I think Dame's for real.
Look, we'll see.
Yeah.
The NBA playoffs have some. They bring stories and moments, and I'm excited to see what this year brings with the chaos that we've had in the last year and a half globally. To come over that adversity. Like we've been battling injuries, delayed start season, only 72 games. We have this weird play-in tournament. It'll be fun. I want to touch on the Spurs Grizzlies game just by saying that, God, that is going to be so ugly. Ew. Okay, now that we've talked about that, do you have anything else in the NBA that is just pressing on your heart, Daniel, that you really just want to get off your chest?
I don't know. I think we can touch on Giannis. I think Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks, this is their year, right? You have to do it this year. There is no excuse this year, right? Because I think Giannis, I've been so critical of him in the playoffs. He hasn't done it. He hasn't gotten there. He hasn't gotten the Eastern Conference Finals. He hasn't done it when it's needed in the fourth quarter when it becomes a half court game. Giannis hasn't done it, and this is the best team he's ever played with throughout his entire career. So I understand that the Brooklyn Nets are there in the East. Giannis, this is your year. On the TWSN show, we had a guy, Will Laughlin. He said that it's on Budenholzer if they lose. I completely disagree. I think this is on Giannis if you lose. This means that his play style isn't ready for the playoffs. Like we've seen with Westbrook, as I said earlier, if they don't win, if they lose, let's say first off to the Miami Heat in the first round, it's all on Giannis. So I'm just really concerned for Giannis. I hope he can pull it out. I hope he can do something this postseason.
I agree. I don't tell people how to bet their money because that's not I just give you my opinion. And in my opinion, at plus 350 to come out of the East, I think there's some value in Milwaukee. I think they can potentially have an easier road. And like I said before, I don't believe in the Nets. I'm not a believer. I'm not sold, right? It gives me a lot of vibes of the LeBron coming into South Beach, right? They got LeBron, they got Wade, they got Bosh, right? First year, they didn't get it done, right? They didn't have all the pieces. It just didn't flow right. And the Mavericks ended up taking home that championship. This gives me a lot of those same vibes of in a chaotic year, you have Kyrie being weird and doing weird Kyrie things, and then Harden missed time and KD missed time. I don't know if I see all the pieces coming together, and it seems kind of too good to be true to get Blake Griffin on, and like now we're going to get Blake Griffin a ring. I feel like it just never works out like that. So plus 350 Milwaukee, if this is the year, they got to do it because Holiday has been great, and that is an awesome addition that they made to that team. Really kind of fits what they were trying to do. This is a year if you're Milwaukee, you got to do it. So I like that. Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just the Brooklyn Nets, right? You said it, I said it. This team should, on paper, blow everyone out the water, right? Kyrie, and we will see, like I said, we'll see how this team's going to play after game 1, game 2 of the Celtics. You're going to see right away if this team has what it takes to win the finals this year. You're going to see if this offensive prowess of the Brooklyn Nets is able to overtake every other team. We'll see right away. But Cody, I mean, just going off the betting, you're a betting guy, right?
I am.
You're a betting guy, and I mean, I had 2 hot takes. I'm going to put together a little parlay for you, right? I'm confident in this, right? I'm going to put together 2 games or two bets, right?
Okay.
The Celtics winning 2 or more games, and the Blazers upsetting the Nuggets, right? And if this doesn't happen, I'm going to take a page out of your book. I'm going to shotgun something. I'm going to shotgun something, right? And listen, the way you put down that chili, you put it down like quickly. I know I can't do that, so I hope I'm right. I'm going to do something a little different, right? The West Coast vibe. I got a little Hispanic in me. I'll shotgun a can of salsa. And listen, and I'm not saying this because just for the shock factor, I kind of am, but I'm confident, right? I'm confident in my Celtics winning 2 games, not the whole series, 2 games, and this Blazers team upsetting the Nuggets. So there's the bet. I can't get one of them wrong. So I'm betting the Celtics winning 2 games and the Blazers winning the series, and I'll shotgun a can of homemade salsa.
That is, first off, you don't understand when you shotgun anything, like you got to do it fairly quickly. When that first chunk of tomato hits the back of your throat, you are in for a whole nother world, pal. I am Yeah, I honestly, I now want them to, I want all of your bets to be wrong because I would love to see that. So make sure you follow Daniel on Twitter and Instagram to get
I'm
the
gonna be
best of
right,
that.
Cody.
We'll see. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough, Daniel. Well, you didn't give me enough. Now I feel like I'm being put on the spot. If I think of something when these playoffs start, we'll see. I'm a Pacers fan, so there's I don't have a lot of hope in my squad even making it in. So we'll see.
No,
We'll see
you
how it goes.
and like I said, you're a trendsetter, man. You started it off, and we'll see what you do next time. But like I said, let's pray I'm right, man. Let's pray I'm right. I want to touch on a couple other games real quick because I know we got MLB to talk about, a big time MLB story to talk about. But the 76ers, do the 76ers have a chance to make the finals this year? I want to hear your thoughts because I like Embiid. Embiid's been one of my favorite players throughout his entire career. What are your thoughts? Can the Sixers contend against the Bucks or the Brooklyn Nets?
I think they can. I think it's going to. I hate to be. I feel like this is really old man of me, but like the whole defense wins championships adage, right? Like you've heard it since you were born. Like that's like the first thing they tell you when you're watching sports is like, hey, you need to hustle, and then also defense wins championships. And I think it gives like all the faith to the guys who can't dunk. It's like, yeah, you can make an impact. But in all seriousness,
that's me. Hold on, Cody. That's me on the court. Like, listen, I'm not. I understand. I'm not the most talented guy, but the hustle and the defense, man.
I love it. So here's my thought. I love what the Sixers have been able to do, and in the regular season, they've done the one thing that they haven't been able to do the last few years, and that's actually maintain consistency. Thibault's been great defensively. Ben Simmons has been great defensively. What still concerns me is their perimeter scoring. I think if they get into a situation where it comes down between like them and Brooklyn, that's going to be tough to keep up with that team on the perimeter. That being said, if there's any team that can defend on the perimeter, it is the Sixers. So I think it's a 3-team race in the East. I really do. I really think it is a 3-team race. I don't see anybody don't get me wrong. The Hawks have been fun to watch. The Knicks have been fun to watch, and that's a great story. And it's when there's good basketball in the Mecca, like all feels right in the world. That being said, I think it is a 3-headed dog in the East. I think the 76ers have just as good of a chance as the Nets, right? If I were putting my chips down, if I were putting my chips down, I would put my chips down on Milwaukee, and then Nets and the Sixers. I think it's closer than people think, right? Because the Nets are the flashy team, right? And you saw the highlight the other night, the Blake Griffin like behind the back pass and then the lob off the backboard. Talk about an electric play. But they bring the energy and the excitement, right? New York market, big market. I don't think the Sixers have gotten enough respect this year because they've played some really, really good basketball. So it is what it is. And speaking of 1 seeds that nobody's talking about, we haven't even mentioned the Jazz at this point.
Yeah.
Are the Jazz are they real? Like, I know Gobert has been great defensively, and I think he's something that doesn't get talked about with Gobert's defense is he doesn't foul, which is unbelievable for a guy his size to be able to defend like that and stay and play good, clean basketball. What do the Jazz do? What do they have to do for you and me to be I want to talk about the Jazz on today's show?
They got to beat the juggernauts, right? Listen, I'm sorry. And this could be a case of just being in a smaller market, but I'm sorry. The Lakers, I'll still take over them. The Clippers, right? The Clippers, a lot of people are kind of iffy on the Clippers because they could end up losing right off the bat to the Mavericks, but you still got the star power there with Kawhi and Paul George. If Paul George can put up 24 a night and not look like he's looked in the past playoffs,
playoff P.
Yeah, if he can actually play like playoff P, they got a chance to make the finals, right? They were my finals pick before the season started. I'm sorry, the Utah Jazz, you got to go out there and beat one of these juggernauts. You got to beat either the Clippers, the Mavericks, or the Lakers. I don't know, right? I think they're top 3 in both defensive and offensive efficiency all year long, right? They've been the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They got to win a series. They got to win against one of these juggernauts. I think that's the only way they'll really earn their respect, because we've seen this story time and time again, a team that excels in the regular season, but then they flop in the playoffs. So they got to win a big time series, not right off the bat, because I mean, they'll face the Spurs or the Grizzlies. That should be a walk in the park. It's going to be that second round matchup against the Mavericks or Clippers. That's, in my opinion, when we'll see.
So the thing that like is interesting to me, right? So we have a playing game, right? And we got 9-10 Memphis and San Antonio. The last 8 seed to knock off the Jazz with Mitchell back will be great. Is Donovan Mitchell, like, are we saying that he's going to take the next step? Because he's been another guy that we've been like, hey, you got to do it, right? Like Giannis hasn't been able to do it in the playoffs. Like Mitchell hasn't been able to do it in the playoffs. There are these guys that like need to take the next step. And I think he's one of them to like, tell me he's for real, right? Like show me that you are it. And we'll see, but it sets up for something really interesting, right? If the Warriors beat the Lakers will be the 8, possibly, right? They'll have to play another playing game, but the Lakers would be the 8 seed. The last time that we had an 8 seed win a 7-game series is the We Believe Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Do we have a chance to see an 8 seed LeBron or an 8 seed Warriors Steph come out and knock off the Jazz in round 1? That would be something that I think the NBA desperately almost needs, right? Because we haven't seen parity in round, like the first round of the playoffs have almost been like kind of like the NCAA tournament where like, okay, the 1 seeds are moving on, the 2 seeds are moving on. And then you go ahead and then like actually make your picks from there. I would love to see it.
I will. And listen, I think it's going to be tough because I'm really curious to see what odds makers do, right? Because I like I said, I want to see fireworks tonight. I think the Lakers are going to win tonight though. But if let's say they do lose, I find it hard to believe, even though the Jazz are the number 1 seed, I find it hard to believe that they'd be favored. I think Vegas would still end up going with the Lakers, and I don't know if has that ever happened. I doubt an 8 seed has ever been favored over the 1 seed. Like there's been no way. So
not a chance.
And that's what's so unique about this year. That's what's so crazy, right? I think if the Warriors go, I don't know if the Warriors can win four games against the Jazz. I don't think the Warriors are going to win 4 games regardless, even against the Suns. It's the Lakers. Lakers are bust. I don't see the Spurs doing it. The Grizzlies doing it.
No,
it's the Lakers are bust because as Dylan said earlier, you got Gobert, you got Bogdanovich, you got Donovan Mitchell. That team, I still think, blows the Warriors out of the water. Even let's say give it 6 games, but they're going to beat that Warriors team. The Lakers, on the other hand, I don't think so. But
yeah, that would be wild to see even a like. If the Lakers end up the 7th seed, they're still going to be favorites in that series over the Suns, right? Like, I think that is something that we haven't seen in a long time in professional sports, and especially in the NBA, where we have teams with 500 or worse records, right, ending up in your 7 and 8 seeds. Like to see them be the outright favorites to win the series, that would be crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
And I think something that I want to get your opinion on too. It was about a week ago, but Kendrick Perkins said it's easier to win in the NFL than it is to win in the NBA. And I see you just made a face. I want to hear, do you agree with that statement? Is it easier to win a chip in the NBA or the NFL?
So Daniel, I don't know if you know what I do for a living, but I design body parts for a living, right? I do a lot of math, a lot of statistics. And just purely based off of math, right? NFL has 32 teams. NBA has 30, right? Starts off harder to make it or harder to win a championship in the NFL.
Yeah.
Then you get to the next level, right? 6 teams from each side make the playoffs in the NFL, now 7, right? So 14 of the 30, less than 50%. The NBA, 8 on each side, 16 out of the 30, greater than 50% chance. You have a greater than 50% chance of making the playoffs in the NBA. Again, statistically, it is easier to make the playoffs and get an opportunity to win a championship in the NBA. So yeah, based off of that alone, statistically, it is easier to win an NBA championship than it is to win an NFL championship. Now, the second thing, the NFL is a grind. It is an absolute grind, but so is the NBA playoffs. It is a long, long playoffs. You have, while the NFL is much more physical, the NBA has a grind of a playoffs that lasts over a month. But you have a 7-game series, right? Like the better team should win, right? The better team should win out. And we've seen that, right? You have less upsets in the NBA than you do in the NFL. It's just how it works, right? And while I understand that like there are obviously anomalies and exceptions, the NFL is you can get hot and go on a run, right? That is very difficult to do for long periods in the NBA, right? Because you don't have to just go on a run for 3 or 4 games and win. You have to go on for a long period of time. So that is in the NBA's favor. That being said, I think it is easier to win an NBA championship purely based off of statistics, right? We were able to pick the NBA Finals matchup for 4 straight years before the season started.
Yeah.
Right? When it was Warriors Cavs, like there was nobody even, they were the outright favorites to win the conference every single year that they did. Right? You penciled that in as your finals matchup and you're like, hey, maybe we get a couple good series in the playoffs that at least give us a little bit of a story.
Yeah.
But there isn't the parity in the NBA like there is in the NFL, right? We have teams go from worst to first and first to worst in the NFL all the time, right? It takes time to build in the NBA, but that like you also can maintain that peak a lot longer, right? That you see dynasties occur more frequently in the NBA than you do in the NFL. And I think it's because it's more sustainable. It's easier to get star talent, especially in large markets. You've seen that happen in Boston. It's why they have like 20 championship banners. It's why the Lakers have 20 damn championship banners, because you get large markets that can consistently pay guys. The other thing that you have to consider in the NBA that you don't in the NFL is you have a salary, like a max contract that you can give guys. Right? That isn't a thing in the NFL. So when you get guys who get massive deals in the NFL, it can cripple the team that you built, like that is built around them. Right? You physically can't do that even if you wanted to in the NBA. You could have 2 or 3 max guys on your roster and bring in star talent, and then you have to fill 2 other starting positions. When you pay a quarterback in the NFL, you have to fill that out 21 other guys who start on your team. The other thing is you can't have one guy do it both ways, right? LeBron can do it both ways. He can do it offensively, defensively. He can take over an entire game. Tom Brady is one of the greatest athletes to ever live. He is a 7-time NFL champion. He can't play defense. Right? He is entirely reliant on another set of human beings to help him win a championship. I think NFL is one of the greatest team sports. I think it is the most difficult to win I take that back. I think it is the second most of the 4 major sports, or second most difficult of the 4 major sports to win a championship in. So give me the NFL over the NBA 7 days a week and twice on Sundays.
Not even discussion. Not even close. And listen, respectfully, Kendrick Perkins, I completely disagree with you. And something, I was watching the either halftime coverage or the post game of the Celtics yesterday. It was Shaq and Charles Barkley going back and forth and all that. Shaq literally said, he was like, we'd have Phil Jackson come to us and say, hey, you and Kobe, you guys go score. And he'd literally say, hey, you other guys, you guys just do your role. You can't have 2 guys on the NFL do their part and everyone else. Like, not one player's going to take over a game. You saw it, Patrick Mahomes. He can do as much as he can, but he needs 5 offensive linemen. He needs a Tyreek Hill. He needs a Travis Kelce. And then he needs a defense, right? So I'm sorry, like it's a fun argument. Like it's a cool debate, but there is no, as you said, mathematically, first off, it's not even close. And then after the math, when you factor in everything, the 22 players versus 5, you're so much reliant on other people. Stupid. It's a fun debate, but there is no debate with that. The NFL and you see teams like the 49ers come from 4-12 to go in 13-3, making the Super Bowl. Before the season, you can't predict how a team's going to do. Before the NBA season, I could have told you the Nets were going to be good. I could have told you the Bucks were going to be good. I could have told you the 76ers were going to be a top 4 seed. I could have told you that the Nuggets were going to be good in the regular season, that the Jazz were going to be good in the regular season. There is no shock in the NBA. Sure, the Celtics fell off. Sure, the Lakers fell off. They're in the playoffs. If they're good enough, they'll win the championship.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is I think the tiers of teams in the NBA are a lot like more and we talked about it, like the East is a 3-headed monster. Nobody else is coming out of the East. And you know that, right? When you get to the NFL playoffs, you have your division champions and then 3 wild cards. Like anybody can win, right? The Bucks won a title as a wild card team, right? Like that's kind of what, I mean, so if you say in the bottom half of the, like, when is the last time a seed 5 through 8 has won a title? Right? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. So we'll see. And it could be the Lakers this year, but I think we've run our course on the NBA. So I did want to talk hockey just a little bit because I love me some hockey, and nothing gets me more angry than the guys on Twitter who are like, I can't believe you're watching the NBA playing game over the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, or the vice versa. I can't believe you're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs over the NBA playing game. It's why God invented 2 screens, bro. You split screen, you got a computer, you got a TV. I'll watch them both because they are electric. Hockey has been unbelievable to start the Stanley Cup playoffs. We had 3 straight overtime games to start. I'm a Predators fan. Look, we sucked against the Hurricanes. It is what it is. Hockey is one of the greatest playoff atmospheres. You have a lot of teams that have full barns now, full stadiums. It is exciting and electric to watch. And the thing I love about hockey is it's very similar to soccer in each goal means so much, right? Like each goal is so substantial. So it is absolutely, it's just been awesome to watch these first couple of games in the series. Daniel, are you a hockey guy at all on the West Coast? Like, is the vibe out there like as electric as it is here in the Midwest?
So, Cody, I pride myself on trying to learn every sport. Right now, I'm getting into the UFC. That's a sport. Like, listen, I'm huge into NFL. I'm huge into NBA. I'm kind of getting back into MLB. For me, it's one sport at a time. I think at some point I'm going to end up living on the East Coast, right? And then I'll give it a shot. I don't know, but to be honest, like Cody, I haven't given it a shot yet. It's not that I hate it. It's just I haven't really taken the time to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to learn hockey. My friends were at the Pittsburgh. I think they're in the Stanley Cup
Pens
right now.
Pens are electric. Yep.
Full house, right? He showed me a video. I was like apparently like hockey is one of the best sports, and I'm not willing to give it a shot right now. It's I don't know.
I tell you what, Daniel, you head east. All right, we will get together. We will watch a game in person. The environment is electric. That being said, man, the Stanley Cup is fun. I think a lot of people, the barrier to hockey is not like we didn't grow up playing it. Like we grew up playing other sports, right? I grew up in the Midwest. Even where I grew up, like it wasn't normal to be like, oh yeah, and then I play hockey, right? Like every kid, like a lot of kids play football either in middle school or high school. And then a lot of kids play basketball at some point in there, or like basketball is a game you can go and play pickup basketball. Like it's not very often you can go and just like, hey, want to get a game of hockey together, like get a game of pond hockey. I used to do that in college, but man, that was hard on the body. Baseball, like every kid grew up playing baseball or softball or, like there's a lot more access to the game. I think hockey that kind of limits its fandom a little bit. But man, it is one of the more fun sports to watch. Let's try. Is there any NFL news you want to touch on at all before we get to the MLB? Controversy. I think it's more old people getting mad at young people. We'll see what it is. But is there any NFL news? I know the Bengals, Joe Burrow back to throwing passes. As a Bengals fan, that makes me feel good. How you feeling in the NFL? We're kind of
yeah, I love it, right? This is my favorite part. I'm huge into NFL draft. I'm huge into predictions. Like, this is what's fun, right? Because for me, I think the best part of this is I love looking at depth charts, right? You go and look at the depth chart, see, hey, did they improve from last year? If their depth chart improved a lot, then okay, look at the record. You know that they're not going to decline. So it's something where it kind of makes you more knowledgeable, right? Like, I saw somebody calling out the Bengals today, saying, "Oh, they're gonna go 3-14 this year." And it's like, okay, if you are logical, right, go and look at the depth chart. They've improved. You're getting Joe Burrow back for a second year. Get Jamar Chase. Offensive line improves. They can't be any worse than what they were last year. So it's like, I don't know. It's at the point where I'm just doing research, right? Just dropped an article about Tua Tagovailoa. Watch all 9 of his games from last year. He's going to improve, right? I think for him, and just a quick snippet of it, all it is him taking more shots, right? So the offense coordinator, they have to help him take more shots. They have to. Jalen Waddle's going to be huge, right? You got to get him. Basically, you got to build that team from Alabama again. You got to create separation, and it's up to him. He's either a game-managing quarterback. I've said this many times. He's either a game-managing quarterback, or if he can take more shots, he can be legit, because he still has the mobility. He has the arm. I know a lot of people say he doesn't have the arm. He has the arm, but now it's about, hey, is he willing to take risks at the NFL level? That's the question we have to see. But I don't know. It's fun. NFL offseason's fun.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I brought it up. I loved your article.
Appreciate
you do a phenomenal job breaking down the film. And by the way, go give Daniel a follow on Twitter, because he does some awesome film breakdowns, and on TikTok because he does some film breakdowns, and he's much younger than I am and knows how to work that thing.
I got you. Like I said, I'm telling you, the graphics, we got you here at TWSN, man. Like, hey, you're going to be a guru at some point. I'm telling you.
I'm learning. I'm a student of the game. But I loved your article breakdown on Tua. I think
Appreciate it.
The thing is he was never at Alabama. He wasn't asked to go out and win them games, right? It was go out and manage the game, put points up on the board, and don't turn the ball over. NFL is a different ball game. You got to go out and win, right? You can't play to not lose. You got to play to win. So I'm excited to see Tua take the next step. I think that'll be a really competitive division with the Dolphins and the Bills, and Bill Belichick and the Patriots are they're always cooking up something.
The Patriots, man. But
Patriots.
Yeah, let's talk about the MLB. And Cody, I know you got some strong feelings on this. Just a little backstory. Yermin Cespedes Mercedes, the Chicago White Sox hitter, they were up 15-4 against the Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota Twins ran out of pitchers, so they threw in one of the fielders to pitch. A 3-0 count, and what did he do? He absolutely rocked it. And Cody, the consensus right now is, hey, it's the unwritten rule not to swing. Are you buying that? Or do you agree with the unwritten rule, or do you say, hey, I'm happy that he knocked it out of the park?
I am so ecstatic that there are players like Mercedes and players like Tatis who are willing to say, screw your rules. I am here to play baseball, right? I do not watch the game to watch a guy stand up at the plate and pretend he is going to swing at a 3-0 pitch. We are already dealing with, as a baseball fandom, a crisis where the games are long, the games are boring, and the games don't have excitement, right? Yeah. There are Reds. Castellanos was suspended because he showed emotion and stood over a pitcher as he crossed home plate. We need excitement like this. And something that was incredibly shocking to me, not only was Mercedes' hit incredible, but then his manager came out and said, yeah, we'll deal with that internally. He made a mistake, right? How are you going to tell a guy to go up there and just take one, right? Yeah. We are up too much. Don't use this time to get better. And the other thing is this is a job for these players, right? This is not a backyard game, right? This isn't I feel bad for the poor kid who has to pitch, right? And they're down 11 runs. They're professionals. These guys spend all season and all off season to do the job to the best of their ability. They are the greatest at what they do. And to tell a guy to go up there and half-ass it is honestly shameful to the game of baseball, because that's not how baseball should be played. And take all your unwritten rules and throw them out. And I understand why the Minnesota Twins pitcher went and hit him in the back the next night. I get it. He got tossed as he should have been. How are you going to tell a guy to do the job to the best of his ability and then have him not go up and do it? Right. And then guess what happens when it comes to contract time, right? They're going to look at Mercedes' numbers and they are going to pay him and his family that he has to provide for based off of those numbers. Baseball is an analytics driven game. It has been for years. Right. And I understand it's a gentleman's sport. Gentlemen, that doesn't get the guy paid. Right. And nobody's going to go, oh, yeah, he didn't hit a home run because he was a gentleman and took a ball on a 3-0 count that came in at 47 mile an hour. You don't want to go yard? Guess what? Play better. You don't want to lose by 11 runs? Play better. That's not – what is he supposed to do? What is Mercedes supposed to do about that? Nothing. He's supposed to take you yard. That's his job, and he did it. I love it. I love it. It brings excitement back to the game. Tony La Russa, you're like 78 years old. You've got like 4 DUIs. Get out of here, dude. Get out of here, pal. And what's crazy is the Sox are good. Like, he's good enough that like he may win Manager of the Year. Because like, how do you say that like to the guys in the locker room? I would not want to play for a guy like that. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Not much else to say, man. You hit the nail on the head. Listen, I'm the same way, right? I mean, I used to play baseball. It was fun, but I realized okay, and watching baseball is kind of boring. I went to Dodgers game 2 days ago, and
I saw that you caught a ball. Congratulations!
it was a good meme, but it needs excitement, right? You need somebody to listen. This whole thing about Mercedes, it's bringing fans into it. It's bringing fans back, and I'm sorry, at some point you have to get fans back. You got to get fans juiced up, and as you said, listen. If you don't want that to happen, don't go down 3-0. And if you're throwing a 47 mile an hour pitch, I could hit that out of the park. Cody, you could hit that. Bring in the bat, bring in your old Little League jersey and take that yard. Listen, 47 miles an hour, don't go down on the count. Don't lose 15-4. I'm sorry.
And that's the thing. I understand that it was a position player pitching. I get that. Yeah. But that happens in baseball. And I saw somebody on the old Twitter machine today propose that give teams the option to call it after 7 innings if they are down. Bullshit. Yeah. This is a professional sport. How would you feel as a fan if you went to watch a game and you went to watch some excitement and then the team is like, yeah, we're just going to call it after 7? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Man, look, I love baseball. It needs to take a page out of the NBA's book. The NBA has done a phenomenal job of building on their superstars, right? The players are what make the game exciting. The personalities, right? They give you people and they put a name to a face, right? You're not just rooting for a franchise, you're rooting for the guys who play for it too. And the NBA or the MLB needs to do a better job of that to bring the young fans into the game and get them engaged. Who knows? Hopefully we see some transition, but now that being said, we just spent a whole segment talking about baseball. So who knows? Maybe a little controversy is what
Cody,
we need.
Like I said, they're getting us talking, right? That's what it needs, because I'm sorry, baseball's not that exciting. Listen, I love the sport, and like I said, I'm trying to get back into it. It's not exciting enough. So you got to get, like you said, you got to bring the fans in for people even to consider calling it after 7 innings. That's ridiculous. It's like Kobe said, you're not going to sit out a game because the fans paid for it, right? So I don't know. You see a lot of the old heads saying, hey, no more bat flips, no more excitement. Like, I'm sorry. That's
Bring
what
the
you
juice.
pay for. These guys, this is their job, as you said, and they're trying to have fun too. They don't want it to be boring.
Yeah.
So
They're playing a children's game for a living. You
Yeah.
can't ask for any more than that.
Yeah.
They want to be excited. They want to feed off the energy of a crowd. Like these guys want to play. Let them.
Yeah.
Let them.
So
It is what it is.
yeah, but like I said, I mean, what a show! What a show we had. We talked. We broke down a lot of NBA stuff and MLB. Man, I like I said on the TWSN show too. We're bringing it back. 5 minutes of baseball every single show. You know what? We're trying to say, hey, bring some energy back to the sport. Play some MLB The Show on the PlayStation. But Cody, thanks as always, man. It was fun filling in for Malik. This is awesome. And if you guys are still here, just subscribe to the YouTube channel, right? Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. We got a mobile app. Cody, anything else you want to say?
I mean, we have a lot of great shows. We have and like UFC. We have all of it. We got basketball. Watch the shows because they are absolutely electric. Daniel, thank you for coming on and bringing the juice. And I'm not going to say you took Malik's place because I don't want to be fired from my position, but I love it. I love talking with you. So with that being said, we're out.
Yes, sir. Have a good night, everybody. We will be back. It's going to be weird to say this every single Wednesday night here on the Game Changers. Hopefully Malik's back on next time. Cody, it was awesome talking to you. Have a good night, everybody.
The marathon continues. The Mamba mentality has left a mark. Shout out to the NBA legend, Kobe, and your daughter, Gigi. From Tom Brady to Drew Bledsoe. Rain, sleet, or snow, I grind.